All right. What I want to do right now, I'm glad I got to worship with y'all. I got to get us focused. Taking off my guitar, and then I'm going to come join y'all by the fire because I'm freezing. Liz. Bro, I want to go stand in that bad boy. I was born and raised in South Carolina. They don't get cold like this till like the end of the year, so we are we're here at an event called What If? It's one big question. Now, obviously, it comes from the show, right? I'm a big Marvel person. MCU is my thing. I love it. But what we're gonna do, DC, come on, man. They need to get their movies together. And look, I want them to be good. I really do. I love Batman, but they keep messing things up. Man, I'm praying for DC, man. Pray for them. Here's what we're gonna do. I want to ask you a question, and then I'm gonna have a team share. We got Jasmine Benjamin from Potomac Valley. That's India's sister.
My sister too.
Oh, we got fam over here. So, and Leanne's here. So this is what she's gonna share something. But I want to ask you a question before we do. What if God is God? I'm getting deep over here. What if God is God? I want y'all to think about that because many of us, we have a concept of God in our head, but I don't know if you think about the depth of what that means and who He is and what it would mean if we really understood everything that is God and we really let that impact us. So that's what we're hoping to start tonight. But before we do, I want to have Jazz come up and share about her life that God has changed.
If you need light, you can use that.
Great. I gotta get to the page. I'm not prepared.
You get to the page, I'll hold this. I'll be a mic stand. It's all good.
You got that for me?
If you want me, if you want me to, because you got to read it, right?
Yeah. Could you be my mic stand?
I'm a good mic stand.
Okay. I'm kind of reading it.
It's all good.
I'm debating. So as you guys know, my name's Jasmine Benjamin. I'm from Potomac Valley.
Woo woo! Rise up!
Yeah. So I grew up in the church as a Kingdom kid, and I'm here to share my testimony with you guys. Although I like being different because, I don't know, I just feel like a different person. You know what I mean? So I decided I wanted to share it a little bit different as though I'm sharing it to myself, talking to dear younger me. So that's kind of what you guys are going to be hearing is me talking to myself, younger. In the process, you'll be hearing my story. So yeah. Dear younger me, I know life feels like it's not worth living right now. I know every day you're planning your spots, you're planning on where you're going to hit, so when you go on your walk, you'll see them, you'll see your friends, and hopefully, maybe, possibly, does somebody have it?
No, you're good. You can go, you just keep reading, you're good.
Okay.
I got you.
Distractions. Back on track. My story. I know you are planning every spot you hit when you go on your daily walks because that's all you can do to cope with your sadness. And you purposely hit every place you know your friends will be because you want to see them, you want to say hi. You hope every time they see you that they won't just see you and look away, but they'll actually wave back and maybe smile. You always try to smile and wave. Maybe they'll have a conversation with you instead of leaving you hanging every time, making you feel like a ghost. You always got your hopes up, and you always go home crying because it never went the way you wanted it to go. I'm losing my spot. I know that you had to watch the people you love the most walk out of your life because for some reason they didn't seem to love you anymore. Maybe you got homeschooled and you just weren't around enough. You came up with all the answers in your head, and you were like, maybe this happened, and maybe this, maybe that. Maybe they still care and they just don't have the time. You came up with every reason in your head. And we all know the truth. They just didn't really want you around anymore, and they didn't want to say it, so they just ignored you. And I know that you went to church hoping and excited with a smile on your face that maybe you'll get some human contact because this is all new, and you'll come home crying because you feel even more alone than you ever did. And I know it's hard. I know that you're going to bed at night crying, wishing, hoping that someone would notice, someone would care. You're going to bed at night thinking, what if? What if, does someone care? What if I died? Would they notice? Would they care? Who would cry for me? Who would bother to cry? You were going to bed every night crying your eyes out, wishing, hoping, running to things you shouldn't, like porn. It was a waste of your time, but you went to it because that's the only thing that gave you a little bit of happiness. Just a little bit. But I know there's hope for you. I'm living it. You start wondering where you were happy. You start going back in the past, and you're like, when was I happy? When was everything good? And you realize that it wasn't when you were with those friends you so dearly cared about. It wasn't when you were with your family. It wasn't when you were at church. It wasn't when you were walking like on the beach or something. It was when you were a little girl in love with the idea of God. It was when everything was just God to you. You're like, oh my gosh, God made that. It's so amazing. And that's where you were the happiest. That's where you bloomed the most. I don't know where it ended, but you bloomed the most there. And so you start running after God again because you figured maybe you'll be happy if you run after Him again. That's, you just want to be happy. And unfortunately, you don't find happiness with God, but you find something better. You find peace in the midst of the storm. You find joy in the tears you cry in the middle of the night when no one's watching. You find what you were looking for in a different way because God knows what you need. He knows what you want. He knows how to make you happy in the best way possible. He knows what's best for you even if you don't want them to leave. He knew it was best for you. And I'm here to say that you made it out. You made it out alive, and you ran after Him, and you continue to run after Him. And it was a battle. It was a fight. Daily, you wish that you were gone, but you decided to stay. And I just wanted to say thank you for the perseverance and the fact that you wanted to run after God because He is worth running after. It's a battle, and it will continue to be a battle. I know this now, that I will have to continue to fight if I want to stay close. But I've never felt so happy. I've never been crying and bawling my tears, and bawling my eyes out, and not felt alone. I've never been completely alone and still feeling like someone was there watching. I don't care if the rest of the world hates me. I know one person will always love me, and that's God, and He showed it through the cross. And yeah, that's my story.
All right, everybody can go home. Listen, I don't have to share anything after that, honestly, because that's what it's all about. I don't know what place you're in right now. God knows where you're at. You can be anywhere on the spectrum. You can be walking around right now. You hopped out of the car and you read the Bible on the way here, and you sang to God, and you levitated here like on that cloud of I'm so spiritual. Maybe that's where you're at. Maybe you didn't, like most people. Maybe you're having a really hard time. Maybe you're trying to decide, is God even paying me attention? Is God even paying me attention? Jazz talked about that feeling of and on some level we've all done it. That moment, be it late at night or when you're alone and you're wondering, am I actually alone? And that's a lot of what I want to talk about tonight. The title of it is, What If God is God? And I want to share some things about these stars that we see above us. Because I'm going to share some facts, and it's going to sound super cool, but understand that the stuff that I'm sharing used to frighten me to no end. All right? Go ahead and look on up. Now it says, these are some facts that I found just about the universe we live in currently. On average, we can see about 0.00002% of all the stars in our galaxy. 0.00002% of all the stars in the Milky Way. On a particularly clear night, in a place where there's very little light pollution, it might seem like the sky is filled with tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of stars. Chances are, if you were to actually take the time and count, you would be able to count about 2,000. Now, here we actually do still have light pollution. You'd have to go to a completely dark place, and you might be able to see 2,000. Now, even if you could see everything, if you actually could see all the stars that you can see from Earth, you'd only be able to see about 10,000 stars. But from our vantage point right here, if everything was completely dark, you could see 2,000. Conservatively, our galaxy, the Milky Way as a whole, has about 100 billion stars. Conservatively, 100 billion stars. Our sun is just one of them. It could have as many as 400 billion, because they're not completely sure. Conservative estimate, but it could be as much as 400 billion. Say that's true, that means there are 399,999,980,000 stars that are in existence that we cannot see from Earth, just in our own galaxy. On Earth, the Earth that you're standing on, there are an estimated 7.5 quintillion grains of sand. That is 7.5 followed by 18 zeros. Now check this out. That sounds like a lot. However, in the universe, there are substantially more stars than that, and the margin isn't close. By a factor of about 5 to 10, there are that many more stars in the universe than grains of sand on the Earth. Now let's look at the ones that we can see right now. These stars that you're looking at right now, it takes so long for that light to leave the star and make it to you. You are actually looking at old light. You are technically looking into the past when you look at a star. You are technically looking into the past. Check this out. NASA has the Hubble telescope. With all of its instruments, it can see far enough away that they're seeing light that is 13 billion years old. It's like looking into the past 13 billion years. This is deep stuff. 1 light year equals 5.88 trillion miles. 1 light year. The second closest star, not our sun, the second closest, Alpha Centauri, is 4.4 light years away. The Earth right now is orbiting the sun. The sun is one of possibly 400 billion stars in our galaxy. Based on what we can see with our technology, there are 100, check this out, 170 billion galaxies. That's only what we can see from our technology. It's actually estimated that there are closer to 2 trillion galaxies. All right. As a young teen, I remember me and my friend Devin, we were standing outside of this old church building in Columbia, South Carolina, and we were looking up at stars. And it was weird. It was just us staring up at stars, and we just started thinking about stuff like this. And I felt the weirdest thing. At first, it was really dope. Like, oh, cool, stars. Can you think about how many they are and how big the universe is, and how like, if the sun is this and all of those are suns and da-da-da-da, we were just talking. And then, randomly, I started to get anxious and upset. Now, I didn't tell Devin, because I'm not trying to be whack, but I'm serious, I felt this lump in my throat and I didn't like it. It started to bother me. It bothered me because something didn't make sense. I'm standing out in front of a church building, staring up at the stars, and something doesn't make sense. Specifically, the thing that doesn't make sense is me. See, I'm one of nearly 8 billion people who live on the planet right now. And I don't know how many people have lived and have died before me, but as I stared at the sky that night, I started to realize I was really, really, really small. So small, like unnoticeably small. It says there are more stars than grains of sand. Imagine if I picked up this, I got one. It's a grain of sand. And I go, can somebody find that for me?
No.
Jazz can find it. She saw where it went.
I got it.
Now listen up. What that made me feel is if there's that many stars, not only am I unnoticeably small, but I felt lost like that grain of sand. I'm just hurtling through the universe. Alone. Can something really be paying attention to me in something this big? It made me feel lost. And I felt that way for a long time. And I didn't know what to do with it. I'm going to church, I'm doing all the things, but at the same time, I'm feeling this sense of, it doesn't make sense, I'm too small. And then I thought of it a different way. I'm too small unless, they're going to make it, it's okay. Y'all good? Okay, we're good. All right, check it out. Here's the sentence. Here's the thing that got me. I am too small. I am unnoticeable unless there's a God, and that God is actually all that they say he is. It comes back to our first question. What if God is God? What if God is God? What if? Now check this out. I always believed in God to some level in my life. Right? I never had a time where I was genuinely like, I don't believe in God. However, I still had these doubts that were going through my mind. See, I believed that we were created. It just made sense to me. I believed that at one point there was nothing and then there was something. And science actually agrees with this. You can read about it. They actually know that our universe has a start point. Scientists will say that our universe was born. Right? And so that made sense to me. That it came from nothing. Most of them will use the theory of the Big Bang Theory, right? That there was a colossal explosion from who knows what that started this chain reaction that somehow led to me standing right here. Now, but that made sense. And here's why it made sense. This right here is why it made sense. This is a deck of cards.
Okay.
This is why it made sense to me. Because they say, and I want you to think about this. I like playing spades.
Yeah.
Give me those two. All right, listen to this. Here's why it made sense. That we were created and we came from nothing. Because they say that there is a greater probability that I throw these cards in the air and they land in order, each suit together. There's a greater possibility that happens than all the circumstances line up in a row the way they would need to for life to exist. What that means is, if it just happened, then that means there was a bang and everything just started falling together perfect to create you. And there's a greater possibility that I do this. Hey, really quick. Now, my question for you guys picking up cards. Did any of them land in order? All right, so listen up. And that makes sense to me. You know what doesn't make sense to me? That things just started toppling together in the correct order. That made sense to me, but so I know, look, something made this happen. Something created this. Something designed this. But I still had huge doubts, and I had doubts about God, and I had huge doubts about how God saw me, and that came from one source. And this is the important thing. I did not know who God was. See, it's one thing to know that there is one. It's one thing to know that I've been created by something. But do you really know? Do you get your head around what God is? See, you can't. I know this is deep, but try to follow me. You literally cannot get your head around what God is. You are not designed to be able to do it. Think about this. When I type into this computer, right? Some of y'all know, who feels like they know computers pretty well? All right? Now, when I just start typing stuff in, can you literally tell me every step from me typing a document to saving it to my drive to what's happening on the ones and zeros? Can you see all the ones and zeros?
Say less.
See, here's the deal. Your brain is a computer. And your brain is not built to understand what God understands. Your brain cannot understand what he understands. So I want us to think about something. If you had a Bible, I'd tell you to turn to Job. My ministry has heard me read this section some 8 times probably. That's because God likes this section, okay? Now listen up. Job and his friends are talking about God and talking about the will of God and talking about what God wants and what's going on. And God decides that he's going to answer. Now consider everything I just said about the universe and the stars and all this stuff. God answers Job in a way that he can understand, but he's talking about everything we just said. It says in 38, it says, the Lord speaks. This is what gets me. The Lord spoke to Job out of a storm. So Job and them have been talking a lot. God thinks this. God thinks this. God wants you to do this. God says, let me tell you what I want you to do. I'm God. Hold on. He says, look, who is this that obscures my plans with words without knowledge? You don't know what you're talking about. That's what God just said. And then he goes on to say, brace yourself like a man. I will question you and you will answer me. If God tells you to brace yourself, you need to hold on. He said, where were you when I laid the earth's foundations? Tell me if you even understand what that means, says God. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched out a measuring line across it? On what were its footings set? Who laid its cornerstone? While the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy. God is saying, where were you when I put this thing together? Because I know how it works. I know how it goes together. But where were you? Who shut up the sea behind doors when it burst forth from the womb? When I made the clouds its garment and wrapped it in thick darkness? When I fixed limits for it and said its doors and bars in place? When I said, this far you may come and no further? Here is where your proud waves halt. Human, do you even understand what makes the ocean stay in place? Have you ever given orders to the morning or shown the dawn its place? That it might take the earth by the edges and shake the wicked out of it? The earth takes shape like clay under a seal. Its features stand out like those of a garment. The wicked are denied their light, and their upraised arms is broken. Have you journeyed to the springs of the sea or walked in the recesses of the deep? Do you know where it comes from? Because I do, says God. God is saying, everything that we just said, every trillion, billion stars, all of that stuff, he's saying, I did that. I made that. I know how it works. I know why it works. Years before humans understood the concept of gravity, God understood why we stayed on the planet. And for the record, you want to hear something really deep? I'm just blowing your minds all day. Gravity is just an explanation of a force. We actually don't really get it. It's just a name we've given. Wow, for some reason we get sucked down to the earth.
What?
It's just an observation.
I'm trying to go to sleep tonight.
No, I don't want you to sleep tonight. I want you to lay awake and think about this stuff like I did when I was 15. Now listen to this. See, it makes sense when you consider it. Those cards didn't fall together. Things don't just collapse into perfectly designed systems. You can even have all the ingredients and they're not just going to fall together. We have a God that is so big we genuinely cannot comprehend what he does. And I would say, if you're like me, when I was thinking about studying the Bible and you're waiting to be able to comprehend who God is completely and what he does, you will be waiting for a long time. This is why faith exists. Because we genuinely will not be able to wrap our minds around a mind that amazing and that huge. We have a God that is more than a creator. He didn't just speak it into existence. He designed it. This was designed. It works way too well. And check this out. Even more so, you were designed.
Come on.
Now, when I realized this is when I started to make a turn. Because I realized that a God that big actually did notice me. I was not just sitting on this planet in the middle of a galaxy, in the middle of a trillion galaxies, out in space, nowhere. No, God knew me, and this is how I knew. He says, first, just scientifically, you are made up of what's called DNA. We all know that, right?
Yeah.
Did you know that if you unwrapped all the DNA in your body, it would span 34 billion miles in your body? That would go to Pluto and back 6 times. All right. You were designed, you were put together, and you are complicated. And God actually knows how each strand and molecule fit together for each of us. See, not only is he immeasurably big, he's immeasurably detailed. His mind can actually wrap it, like he knows every hair on your head. Listen to this. Psalm 139, verse 13, it says, "You created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb." He puts you together. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. When I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw me, my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them had come to be. How precious to me are your thoughts, God. How vast the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand. You see, he literally put you together. And now, thanks to modern technology and study, we know just how intricate it is that we are put together. And he knows every single function, every hair on your head. He knows your name. He knows your specific name, and he knows what you're going through, and he knows when you're laying at home and there's tears that nobody else knows about. He knows each one. This is our God. He knows it, and he's watching. Isaiah 49, verse 16, it says, "See, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands." That he's walking around with your name right here. As he continues to create galaxy upon galaxy upon galaxy. Some believe that the universe is ever growing. I'll tell you why I think things keep growing and being created. I think God does it because he can.
That's true.
I think he does it because he can. I think there are amazing things that you might see one day or you might never see. And God is just out there creating things and painting pictures and doing stuff right now in this moment because he can. He's that vast. He's that amazing. I tell the story of when I was in the southern part of Brazil, and they have this waterfall called Iguaçu, and I walk up to it. You take this big bridge to get there, and it's like 3 Niagara Falls. You've never seen anything like it. And it thunders. It thunders. It just keeps thundering. And I remember thinking, this is the first time I've considered that voice of God, that rushing water. And right now, as you sit here in Pennsylvania, that waterfall is thundering away right now. Stars are being created and exploding right now. Galaxies away. And he's aware of all of it. And then at the same time, the thoughts and things going through your heart right now, he's aware of that too. See, you've come here this weekend to get closer and draw near and encounter a vast, powerful, amazing, literally scary God because of the power, but all he wants to do is draw you close. He wants to say, listen, I know you. I know the things you think. I know the things that are specifically you. And I know you think, why am I even created this way? And he understands why. He wants nothing else but to draw you close. Here's my challenge.
Come on, Marcus.
Don't miss it. What if, instead of this being just another cool weekend where I saw my friends and I heard the word and I sung some songs, what if I got to know God on a level so deep that it literally changed my life and the life of those around me? He has plans. We know this. But what if? Or here's the other what if. What if you hear all this and you go back? See, that's the other option. Let's bring it back to the MCU. Multiple timelines. I want you to think about it tonight. Think about this as one of those splinters of a timeline. Right? At the end of the Loki show. And Kang's like, I don't know what happens next. And then, I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it. But picture that this is one of those moments. Because it is. The reason that we do things like this is to create those moments.
Amen.
Disciples. Yes, you are there. You've connected with God. You have that relationship. Let me let you know that there is so much more to God and so much more to you and so much more to that relationship. Yep. Those of you thinking about the decision, or maybe you're not, take this moment. It may not happen like this again. Consider the what if. You have a choice. It's in front of you. Tonight I want to encourage you guys as you go back to your cabins. I want you to talk about where you're really at in your life. What moment are you at? What decision are you thinking about? There's something that you could do when you get home or something that you could not do when you get home. There's a decision that you could make. There's a decision that you're thinking about. There's a person. There's something going on that you could choose God in the moment, or you could choose something else. You could say everything's cool. I got to decide if I'm going to read my Bible more. That's my decision. I got to decide if I'm going to be good. You could be shallow. Or you could really think, what is God trying to tell me right now? This is an amazing opportunity. You're going to have more times to think about it even deeper as we go on through this weekend. We're going to talk about it specifically. What if? What if? What if? I challenge you to think deeply this weekend. Encourage yourselves. Enjoy the fellowship. Have fun. Do all the stuff that's going on. But right now, I just want you to consider what if. Amen? Amen. That's my charge. Yeah!